The Clash of Health. Thanks for being here today. I thought I'd do a part two video to the video that I did on the MTHFR gene, which is the C677T gene that, or SNP piece of a gene that helps us to process folic acid into our body in a usable form through converting homeocysteine into methionine and helping with the development of the fetus if we're pregnant, and brain health and cardiovascular health, and how you're really in a good spot if you're able to fully function. There's a fully functional system of methylation within your body if you don't have this anomaly. But unfortunately, a little less than 50% of the population are not adequate or not optimal methylators. So we have to work a little harder to develop a hazmat suit and to optimize our ability to take in this essential B vitamin, B9, into our system. And I did a commentary on that, and I just want to add with this video, as all of my videos, they're just my opinion based on my experience and trial and error, and working, especially as having worked within the healthcare arena of what I saw helped or didn't help with clients. So this is not individual advice. Please see your own practitioner for that. But what I mentioned in the last video was sometimes the people who seemed to live the healthiest life were those who were poor methylators, not metabolizers, but metabolizers of methylfolate. And the people who sometimes seemed to be in the best spot because they had a hazmat suit on, AKA didn't have this variant, live sometimes the most suspect lifestyles in terms of what they were taking in, be it smokers, or their diet, or just being kind of impervious to poor living conditions. So it seemed like people who weren't great methylators were no worse off. But I do want to add today that with all things being equal, which I did kind of allude to in the last video, the people who are good methylators, who don't have a variant, are going to definitely be in a better spot if they live a healthy lifestyle. So the question then becomes, like, how, if we do have a variant, or if we're not sure, but we do feel pretty sensitive to our environment and we're guessing we could have a variant, what do we do? Like, do we take vitamins? Do we eat fortified foods? And it's a complex answer. And I'm not going to say take a supplement or don't take a supplement. I can tell you what my experience has been with the supplement world in terms of B9, folic acid. The first thing I learned very early on, after learning from people like Benjamin Lynch and his team, who have done a lot of research on the MTHFR gene, is you don't want to take straight folic acid in that hasn't already been methylated. So you want to take methylated folate, methylfolate, if you're going to take a supplement. Excuse me, the next thing I learned was people can get over methylated pretty easily. So you don't necessarily just want to take methylfolate ad nauseum. You might want to pulse it and just take it short term. And if you notice any kind of anxiety or any kind of upregulation in your nervous system or lack of sleep, you're going to want to back off. Another thing that goes along with that is what this group of professionals who studied this gene have learned is methylfolate needs to be taken in combo with other B vitamins, and often a B complex is recommended. For instance, methylfolate needs to be paired with methylcobalamin or methyl B12. If you take methylfolate and you don't take a B12 supplement, especially if you're vegan or don't eat a lot of, animal protein, you could mask a B12 deficiency if you're taking in the B9 vitamin without pairing it with B12. Additionally, they are two supplements or B vitamins that seem to upregulate the system, whereas B6 tends to downregulate the system. So you want to make sure that you're adding a complex that not only has methylfolate and methyl B12, but also B6, the methylated version of B6. So that's the long and the short of a B complex. And B complexes often, have many other vitamins, many other of the B vitamins. I think I want to say there's like 8 B vitamins, and these are just 3 of the B. So ideally, you're going to want these B vitamins working together within the system in sync. Now, the question is, you're taking this B complex, right? You're doing all of this correctly. You're taking a B complex that is already methylated. If you're not a good methylator, this is, going to be ideal or essential. The other thing that I've noticed is that, and I think that the research now is starting to support this, if you have another SNP, single nucleotide polymorphism, or a variant within your system with a gene that's called the COMT gene, COMT, I think the specific one I'm referring to is V158. If you have a variant in that where instead of valine methionine, which is kind of like a brake and accelerator working together, you have a variant where you have the brakes on, where this enzyme is under functioning to break down dopamine in the prefrontal cortex, hence too much dopamine because you've got too much methionine going on and not enough valine with this balance between these two amino acids. Then you could especially be susceptible to overmethylating with a B complex, or at the very least a B complex. But if you're just taking pure methylfolate, then you very much likely will have an issue with overmethylating over a period of time. It could be days or it could be months, or probably not years. So COMT, again, breaks down dopamine in the prefrontal cortex. If this enzyme is not working optimally from a genetic perspective, hence too much dopamine, you're going to have this presentation potentially as wired and tired, especially if the gene is expressing itself, where from an epigenetics perspective, maybe you've had some trauma, or you're a smoker, which, makes you more nervous, or, you're doing some kind of drug that increases dopamine. This gene is going to express where you're going to be wired and tired. You might be anxious. You might have some anxiety, depression, maybe mania, or a variation of bipolar, or worst case scenario, psychotic. Now, of course, many people have this presentation of MET under activation of this enzyme that breaks down dopamine, who have no issues that I'm describing. They have the variant, but from an epigenetics perspective, or a lifestyles perspective, or other modulating genes that kind of make this gene less present, they might not have an issue. But there is a concern that overmethylation can occur, especially in people with this other SNP which is the SNP with COMT, met variety of COMT. I'm going to put some information in the notes because I know this is confusing. But the long and the short of it is, I think what I really want to stress is the best way to get methylfolate into the body is through whole foods that have an adequate amount of folic acid. Certain leafy vegetables, I think avocados, you can do your own, and I'll try to put a list in of folate-rich foods, whole foods like veggies and eggs. You know, if you get, especially, you know, your eggs you get down from the chicken lady or the chicken man down the street or the farmer's market. And I don't mean this derogatorily. I mean people who, you know, you get the chickens from a local provider. That's going to be the best way to get your folic acid in rather than fortified foods, box foods, where the food is so utterly compromised and then they just pour in folic acid that if you're a poor methylator, you're not going to be able to convert that to methylfolate in a usable form. It's just going to be sitting in your bloodstream, doing you absolutely no good, and maybe even down-regulating the system even further. So the best thing to do is whole foods, and then potentially you might need to supplement. And if you're going to supplement, a B complex that is methylated is going to be the best way to go about doing this. Again, working in tandem, I would recommend with a practitioner on all of this. And if you're taking a B complex or a B vitamin and you notice you're getting anxious or you're not sleeping as well, it could be you're overmethylating. So to be careful of that and to watch out for that. So I did want to add all of this in today in today's video. And if you have any, you know, general questions, I can't answer personal questions, but if you have any general questions about anything I've discussed, please put it in the comments and I will try to help you. And before I get off, I just wanted to give you a quick pumpkin pie recipe because 'tis the season that we're in with the holidays. And it's a nutritional version of pumpkin pie. And I don't know, maybe pumpkin even has a little bit of the B vitamins we're speaking of. I can check. Just checked, and actually pumpkin is rich in multiple B vitamins. This is the pumpkin pie that I made today. This is a gluten-free crust. I used your organic pumpkin puree is going to be the best puree unless you're using an actual pumpkin. And this recipe was super easy. I just bought a gluten-free pie crust, pre-cooked it for 10 or 15 minutes, took some of this puree, added some homemade coconut milk that I made. I took a half cup of coconut milk. I put some chia seeds, 2 tablespoons of chia seeds in, mixed it up, made a couple of chia eggs. But if you want to add actual eggs, I just tend to not eat eggs myself, but regular eggs will add more of that folate for you. With the puree, you've got a nice mix of that folic acid in its usable form, in a whole food variety of form. But for this recipe, I took the coconut milk, half a cup, put the 2 tablespoons of chia, mixed it up, let it become a chia egg. I added a 1/4 cup of maple syrup and just a little bit of Yukon syrup, which gives it like a molasses flavor, but you don't need to put that in there. Lots of spices. I put ginger and cinnamon and nutmeg and all of the pumpkin pie spices with a little bit of Himalayan sea salt. And what else did I put? I think that was about it. I mixed it up, put it in the pre-cooked crust, and then cooked it for another 20-ish minutes at 400 degrees. I started at 400 and then I decreased the temperature. You can just kind of play around with the temperature. I don't know that there's a hard and fast rule to cook it. I just kind of lowered the temperature after 10 minutes. And I haven't eaten it yet, but it looks delicious. I'm gonna add a little bit of some cream, and I will, hopefully have a nice folate rich methylated version in a whole food form of a delicious dessert tonight. So thanks for watching, thanks for listening, and I'll catch you on the next video.